We're back. Hello everyone. It's Adrian, and you're welcome back to the channel where I talk about my unfolded thoughts and opinions that nobody asked for. You're welcome, sir or ma'am. And yeah, like and subscribe if you're into that kind of stuff. And without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. Oh man, you know what kind of person that I used to be? I used to be that kind of person whom whenever somebody would do me wrong or someone would do somebody else wrong, I would always, in my head, I'd always be like, I never would have done that. Like, if I were you, if I were in your shoes, I never would have done that. I never would have done that to me. I never would have done that to other people. I never would have treated X person bad and horribly and all these things. And the thing is, I'm not them and they're not me. They can never be me. I can never be them. It doesn't matter what happens. We can never be like one another. And this is something that we forget is that whenever somebody does us wrong, we always go in this, oh, but I never would have done that to them and I never would have done this. And it's like, yes, you never would have done that because you're not them. You never would have done that because you're not them and they're not you. You are absolutely who you are and they are absolutely who they are. So stop always trying to see yourself or to force to see yourself in other people, and seeing your own potential in other people, you know what I mean? And it's almost like this is always like really hard when it comes to people that you've known for a really long time. I'm talking about friends that you've been friends with for a really long time. I'm talking about years, or your family, people that you're close with and you've known each other for years and years. When they do you wrong or when they do these things that you just do not accept or you're not okay with, you almost always come up with excuses, for their actions. For example, with myself, when somebody else from like the outside does me wrong, I'm always really quick to like, you know what, you did me wrong, you're out, you're out. And it's not like I'm not like that with friends or family. I can be like that, but because these people, I've like known them for a really really long time, I've also like gotten to be close to them on an emotional level, and I kind of understand who they are and why they do the things that they do, again because I know these people personally and I've known them for a really long time. Almost like anytime they do something wrong, it's almost like, yeah, they did me wrong, they did something wrong and I do not agree with it, but I also understand, I understand why they did that thing that they did. I understand why they would act like that. Even if it's in a way that I don't believe in or a way that's absolutely horrible, I always come up with these like excuses to why I'm like, no, I can do that to them. They went through X, Y, and Z, and that's why they're acting the way that they're acting. And I think I kind of like, I don't like that part of myself. I don't like that part of myself that understands people. And I think it's time me and you, we kind of like stop making excuses for these people. It's time we stop making these excuses, and it's like, yeah, I understand why they did that, and yeah, maybe they did go through all these things in their lives, but also it's like I always ask myself, but I also went through this and that thing. It maybe it was even worse than what they went through. Not to like compare traumas or things that people have gone through, because every single person is different, but maybe it is even worse, but I'm not treating them or other people like that just because of the things that I've been through. I'm not making excuses to be a bad person by bringing up the things that I've been through and maybe my traumas and X, Y, and all these things. And it's like, yeah, but if you don't do that with yourself, why are you doing it with other people? And I think it's just time we start to see people for who they are and who they present themselves as, and how they show up, and how they show up to you and other people, and how they treat you and other people. Also, another hard part for me, because I understand what they've been through and I know what they're like. I almost bring up these excuses and I'm like, yeah, but I know they're not like that. Like I know them, I've known them for years. I know that deep down they're not that. I know that deep down they are a good person. And the thing is, there is no such thing as deep down. I think that something that just popped up in my mind right now is that show. You know, it's called BoJack. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's like on Netflix. I don't know if I'm not sure. Maybe it's on Netflix, but there's this show called BoJack. You should watch it. It's nice. And, you know, BoJack, this character, you know, asks this girl, and who was like, "Do you think that I'm a good person deep down? Do you believe that I'm a good person deep down? You know, despite all the horrible things that I've done?" And the girl goes like, "Well, I don't see people as deep down. I don't believe in the deep down. I see people for who they are and how they choose to show up. You know, I choose people, I judge people from their actions and how they choose to show up and treat others, not from the deep down. There is no deep down. You basically are who you choose to show up as, not the deep down. You know, you can go out there and do horrible things and treat people horribly and be a bad person and then have this thing where you're like, but deep down I'm a good person. No, I don't think there is a deep down. You know, again, it goes back to that same thing. I don't think there's a deep down. You just are who you are. You are who you choose to show up as, and who you choose to, and how you choose to treat people. That's who you are. There's no this deep down thing, how you go out there and do bad stuff, then you come back to yourself and feel sorry for yourself, and you're like, oh, but deep down I'm a good person, you know. And I think for the longest time this is what I used to do. I used to like make excuses for these people, again, because I've known them for a really long time, and then I'm like, but deep down I know they're a good person. It's like, no, there's no deep down. You know, there's no deep down. That's just who they are, you know. And who they are is who they choose to treat you as, and who they choose to show up as to you and other people. That's who they are. There is no such thing as deep down. And I just think it's just time. It's time me and you stop making that excuse. Again, it can be so hard, man. It can be so hard when you've known somebody and you know what they've been through and all these hard things, and again, and not to play therapist, but a lot of times I used to like playing therapist because I'm like, yes, you know, I'm like psychoanalyzing every single thing and their trauma. I'm like, but this was their this was their childhood, and this is what they went through, and this happened to them at this age, and X, Y, and Z, and because of that, that's why they're acting this way. You know, they're not a bad person technically because they're good, but they're only bad and only doing these bad things because of these things that they went through. And it's like, no, but I also went through some messed up things. You know, I also have my own fair share of like trauma and all these things that I've been through, but I haven't gone out of my way to be like a horrible person per se. And I'm not like the best person out there, and I'm like the best person is like always right or always does good things, you know. But I know I'm not perfect, but I also know that I try to be a good person and to always hold myself accountable. So I know that I've been through all those things, but despite me being through all of those things, I'm still not this bad person, and I'm still not doing all these horrible things that they're doing. So it's like, why are you making all these excuses for them and giving them all these passes, but you're not doing the same thing for yourself? You know, because when I do something, I'm always like, you can't do that. You know, you can't use your traumas and things that you've been through against other people just to be a bad person, and being like, oh, but I've been through this and that, and that's why I'm acting the way that I'm acting. And it's like, no, you don't make those excuses for yourself. Then why are you making the same excuses for other people and allowing it just because you've been friends with them for a really long time, or you guys are family and you know them, and all these things? And it's like, no, you don't do that with yourself. Why are you doing that with other people? You know, why are you tolerating all these bad habits and all this bad behavior? You know, I say all of that to say it's time for you to just start seeing people for who they are and who they choose to show up as. When people, I remember that quote. I mean, I know it's kind of corny because it's overly done, but I remember that quote that goes, when people show you who they are, believe them. And it's so true. Believe them. Stop making these excuses because you stop making all these excuses because you see yourself in them, and stop it. Stop always trying to see yourself in every single person. You're not them. They're not you. You are who you are. They are who they are. When people show you who they are, believe them. Don't make these excuses, but they're good, but deep down they're a good person. There's not deep down. So if someone is like horrible and not a good person in your face, that's who they are. And I think it's just something that I've kind of like learned like this past year. It's like, no, I don't care about who you used to be in the past or who I used to know you as. What I care about is who you are right now and how you choose to show up as to me right now, you know? And I just, the whole trying to understand someone and always making excuses for their bad behavior because, again, you know what they've been through, and you're like making these excuses. I know that's not who they used to be. Yeah, that's in the past, but this version of them whom they're showing you right now, that's who they are. And you need to believe them, and you need to take that literally. It's like they show you they're this, that's who they are. Forget about what they tell you. Forget about, oh, but I went through this and this, me, I would never do this. But they're doing that though. They're doing that to you though. That's who they are. And you need to take that literally, and you need to believe them. You need to believe the version of them that they're showing you. When they tell you the opposite and then they do the opposite thing, no, it's time we stop that. It really is time to stop that. Stop seeing yourself in other people and always trying to like put yourself in their shoes. Oh, if I was them, I never would have done that. Of course you never would have done that, because again, man, you're not them. You're not them. And they're not you. They are who they are. You are who you are. And that's it. That's it. It's that simple. Stop making excuses. Stop it. It's never worth it. It's never worth it. Stop. I'm saying this to you, but I'm also like saying this to myself as a reminder, because it can be really easy to be like, you know what, that's not them. That's not who really they are. But that's who they are. That's who they are, because that's who they keep showing up as. And that's it. That's all I have to say for today's episode. I did not want to make this super long. I just wanted to get this out of my head and share this. And yeah, let me know about you guys' opinions and your own experiences with this. Again, I'm not somebody who like tolerates BS from people. I'm just not that. But again, sometimes it kind of like gets you. It kind of gets you and you're like, but that's not who they are. That's who they are. That's who they are. So you need to believe them. You need to believe them. So yeah, let me know about you guys' opinions and what you think, and comment down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this little hangout session, like and subscribe. You can also go watch other videos of the episodes. And yeah, I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Yeah, I'm also kind of hungry. I should eat. I really should, but yeah, that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Kisses, like always, and yeah, I gotta go. See you on the next one.